Do I sound husky outside?
No, you sound okay. And of course, within
Okay,
today's topic, we might cover that in some part as well.
that's true. Yes, so today we're going to talk about how to improve your communication skills. So funny how many women say men don't know how to communicate, or they never communicate, or I can't get them to communicate. And men are just like, I don't know how to communicate with women. I hear that a lot from men.
Yeah, same. We will cover this definitely.
We're going to communicate a lot about communicating. I'm very.
I think so. Yes, that'd be a good idea. Let's do that today.
What a concept. We'd
Yeah.
like to welcome you with my cute squeaky voice today to the new streamingnetwork.com, WGSN-DB, Going Solo Network, radio and TV podcast, #1 internet singles talk network. And this is Let's Talk Dating with Christine and Barry. Hi, Barry.
Hi, Christine. Yes, your voice definitely got a nice little edge of huskiness and
Yeah, it was
sassiness.
completely gone over the weekend. I was really glad that wasn't Thursday because that would have been a problem. We'd have to do this in sign language or something. That might be a challenge.
That'd be a whole different conversation there, literally.
Whole different way of having a conversation, right?
Mm-hmm. So, improving your communication skills. Let's dive in, shall we?
We're going to definitely dive into this. What I found is that I was a professional interrupter of men. I learned that from lovely Allison Armstrong in my 40s. And that one of the reasons that men were having trouble communicating with me is because I interrupted them a lot. And I didn't realize how much I was interrupting them. Because one of the things that I know, since I am one of those women people, is that when women are talking to each other, we, oh, yeah, oh, I feel that way. Oh, yeah, that happened to me too. And we do lots of connecting. We like to connect. We feel good when we're connecting. We expect the other person to make comments and facial expressions and connect with us in body ways and voice ways to show that we're on the same page and that we're listening and paying attention. And I discovered that when I would do that with a man, I kept interrupting him talking. Not, we're going to get to the thinking part second, but the first part,
Right.
it interrupted their speech. That doesn't generally, the enthusiasm part didn't land the same way it did with women as it did with men. Do you find that as one of those Y chromosome people, Barry?
Absolutely. And it's funny because we're definitely going to reference Alison Armstrong was with David Data. I heard something he said recently that just like reminded me of this. But generally speaking, yes, in conversation, it's almost like in some ways men and women work at different speeds. That's part of it. Because women's brains and mental process seems more active than men's are. And in simplistic terms, and I'll just reference David Data in this moment, is that for us men, our real preference, to be blunt, is like stillness internally. No disturbance, just be calm and at peace and not do anything. Whereas a women's consciousness and presence is the antithesis of that, because women's energy is aliveness, activity, and beingness and doing. It's kind of what women are all about in their natural state. And so put those two together, it's like it doesn't fit, which is why communication is so challenging to the two genders. And we'll cover more of that as we go in. But just take as a proviso at the beginning that we both have a natural resonance in the state which is different from each other. So communication almost needs like an interpreter in between. So yeah, it's definitely fun to communicate clearly and well.
So what I learned was it works best, especially when you're getting to know each other and you don't have really any ground rules of how to work out the communication part, is to be a little quieter. That was such a good word to use, the quiet and peace. When a man, you've asked a man something and he's telling you something, to have a more peaceful face and more peaceful body language while he's explaining something to you, even if you're feeling really enthusiastic about it, because he thinks he needs to do something about your reaction. He needs to think, do I need to stop what I'm doing and do something else? Where we really are encouraging you to do the same thing, but it doesn't land that way for you. And so sometimes what you'll do is you'll stop. And then we want to encourage you, no, keep going, which that makes you stop even more. And it's so sad how we go at these cross purposes with these
Right.
really good intentions, and it all just kind of blows up in both of our face. I love that you keep laughing at this because it happens to all of you,
Oh, yeah.
you guys.
Well, I mean, and you can reference it if you want, but I was going to say, but the way Alison teaches it, the same sort of thing is the fact is that again, the way women's brains and men's brains is different. And what happens is you ask us to do something, women ask us to do something, and oftentimes we're processing and digesting it and deciding how we're going to do it. However, I said earlier about how women's brains and men's work different speeds and frequencies. What happens is oftentimes when a woman doesn't get the response she expects to have in the time she thinks she should have it, she thinks, I better nudge him or say it again or say it differently. And the challenge for us men is because we process one thing at a time as one of our natural states. Like, give us one thing, we'll process it, chew it, digest it, and then move on to the next thing. When a woman gives us a different suggestion, which may be about the same thing, but we don't hear it that way, we think it's a different thing entirely, we get stuck going, okay, now she wants this as well as that, different from that. We're not sure what to do with it. I mean, none of this is out loud, of course. It's all internal. And oftentimes it's unconscious. So we're not even able to articulate what's going on inside of us. And so this thing happens where we get to stop and then stop again and stop again and stop again. Meanwhile, she's going, yes, but this, and yes, but, and this, that. That's the reason why things become so challenging between men and women, because we don't have that common ground, like you're saying, that initial get to meet somebody. How do you approach it in a way that makes for an easier communication between both genders? Because it's so easy to fall in the trap of traditionally way how women communicate and how men communicate, which are not the same.
Oh, yes. The differences are just so immense. I had a handyman here for 3 days working on one big thing and a bunch of little things. And I was walking by and I thought he was asking me a question, but he was talking it over with himself. So I stopped and I answered the question and he kept talking about the question. So I thought, oh, he didn't, because I know this, but I forget because I'm a girl.
Right.
So I'm going to call myself out. So I stopped and I came back and he was talking again. So I answered the question again and he kept talking about it. So I tapped him on the back and he turned around and looked at me and I said, do you need an answer to that question? He goes, oh, I do. So I answered it and he was like, oh, thanks. But he had screened out, because that's what you guys do. You're concentrating on what you're doing. So he wasn't not listening to me on purpose. He had just screened out everything else because he was so he didn't even hear me say the answer the other 2 times. He wasn't ignoring me, because you can't think about what you're doing and ignore me at the same time. I'm
Right.
so important to teach this to women, but I'm going to finish the thing, because then when I answered him, he was like, oh, good. He was very happy to hear the answer, but he hadn't gotten around to saying, oh, I should ask her the question yet. He was still seeing if he could puzzle it out himself. Right. It was such, but I would, oh, you know this. So yes, touch him on the back, have him look in your eyes. Do you want me to ask? Because he could have said no, he was still working on it. I would have kept on going the other way. But oh yeah, I'm happy to hear the answer. It was just one of those funny moments of like, well, here I am proving out my own theory. It was just funny.
Well, the thing is for us men, oftentimes, I know it's true for me and I'm sure other men, is that, like I said earlier, we do one thing at a time, we process one thing at a time, is that it's very hard to concentrate on 2 things at once. So if we're in the process of thinking about something consciously, we can be oblivious. I know this is myself, it's one of my habits I'm working on. If I'm watching something, if it's a video or a show, or even reading a book, if my mind is doing something else, what went in front of me did not register. It may have gone in some unconsciously, but I didn't consciously receive it. So if there's somebody I'm talking to, it's not about them, it's just about the internal processing. Is they may say something to me, and this is true for men or women talking to me. This is about the male receptive, not about who's talking. Is because I'm focusing on something else other than what's being said in front of me. I'm going to say to them, like, you say that again, or I'm just oblivious. I might just nod my head without realizing it. And I've actually had to clean up some communications where I didn't hear what they were saying because I wasn't present to listen to them. That's the key thing. I wasn't present to what they were saying. I was somewhere else in my mind. So one of the things about communication, like you did, is get the man's attention, like tapping on the shoulder, because that's a simple thing, is that this is important. Therefore, I need to say, okay, let me put that aside and focus on what she's going to say so I can respond to that. Because we may not be wired to do that by default. And she's going to get upset with us because we didn't tune into everything she's saying. Yes, ideally, we would be so responsive and so tuned in that anything she does, we'll tune into. But we're human and we're men. We tend not to do that.
Yes. We women believe, and I did before I learned this in my 40s, that you can watch TV and ignore us at the same time. That you can be on your phone and ignore us at the same time. That you can do nothing and ignore us at the same time. No, we can do 5 things and ignore you at the same time. Really?
Right.
We can absolutely do all those 6 things at once. So we get our feelings hurt because we think you don't care, and that if you loved us more or enough,
Right.
you would know that we're saying hun, 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 while the big play is happening on the TV. But you don't hear us, so you're not ignoring us. You really
Right.
can only watch TV, and that's all. You really can only do one thing at once because you naturally, it's in your DNA, screen out everything that isn't relevant to that. So then they go, okay, so somebody who's really smart said, well, what about like a coach at a football game? They look at the scoreboard, they look at all the players, they look at the other team. I said, but it's all under the umbrella of the game.
Thing. Right.
Oh, see, I said, I don't want to argue with you. I'm happy if you can come up with a way that you're going to show me that it's different. And yes, there are men that have developed over time for self-defense, and you need to have an agreement with them ahead of time of how you're each going to develop, how they're going to listen to more than one thing at once. Because I just spent time with my brother and sister-in-law who now been married for 50 years last week, and my brother hears footsteps come in his office. So he does his transit, he pauses and he turns. But you wait until he turns. You don't start talking till he turns. So he still has to stop what he's doing, but he knows to stop and turn. When he hears his wife or I come trooping in he knows our different footsteps too. But he can do that. He can pay attention that footsteps have come in his office. He's 50 years of being married to her. She knows that this is going to happen. But so that's 2 things at once, but it's only 2 things at once. It's not where we women can pay attention to 12 things, and we think you can pay attention to 12 things. And you were built to focus on kill this animal so it doesn't kill my family and I bring home food. It's a good thing your body is known to do that. You don't want to be focusing on a bunch of other things because the animal would kill you and we wouldn't have somebody to protect us and you wouldn't be bringing home food. So we like that you do this, except when it feels like you're ignoring us.
Of course. Let's go back to our genetics, our genetic makeup is that we as the men are, as we said before, way back at the beginning of our shows, talking about how we as being the hunter, we are the person who's always focused and laser focused on the target. That's the way we're wired. So one thing at a time, focus on the goal because that's what we need to get accomplished, then we can relax. Yeah. Whereas the woman and the feminine is more of the gatherer and protector. So she has to keep a much wider awareness. I had, and I shared this before a while back when I discovered this, that growing up being bullied in high school actually opened up a new skill set for me, which is having real spatial awareness because it was about protection, about defense. I keep aware of where it was going to attack might come from. It became almost innate in me. And I realized as this, I think I shared this a few months ago, I was at an event and somebody said, it's like, I noticed you like your head's on a swivel. I said, it's natural because I'm always scanning the environment, not for danger now, but because it's a skill set I developed. Not a lot of men carry that skill set. Not saying I can focus on many things, but I can notice, I can be on like radar alert with one focus, which is looking for anything that's out of alignment. And I use it for that in a very positive way. So again, it's still for us men, we tend to be better doing the one thing at a time more easily because we're more sequentially based, more than simultaneously focused like women are. And it's one of the things, again, back to communication, how if we understand each other's differences, we can play to those differences in a way that works. But it does require conscious effort.
Conscious effort. So I had lunch with the clients who got married 2 years ago now, the 24. And it's funny because I know this about her because she was the one that was my client. She was in IT and very masculine in her job. And she's a very feminine person, but she's very much in her masculine at work. So one of the things he learned is when she's on her phone, he has to go look at my eyes when he needs to have her attention because she cannot multitask when she is on the phone because she drops completely 100% into her masculine on her phone. And I said, oh, was that an interesting thing to learn about her? He goes, it really was. Because I had dated, he had been married before, they were both widowed, and he had dated women. They could carry on a whole conversation while the woman's on the phone. Not her. She is single focused when she's on her phone because she had to be when she was in her job. So I thought that was a really interesting thing. So it really is a masculine trait, which is typically the male person, but it really is, when we use this term, it's the masculine side of the person doing this.
It's good to make a reminder about that, because we talk a lot sometimes interchangeably about masculine and male and feminine and female, but it isn't something that we're always the one thing or the other. Like I said, I really learned to have this spatial awareness, which was really a feminine trait, but it was a skill I developed in my own defense at that time. And so having that skill set has played really well for me, but I don't always use it, because if I'm really masculine, I'm not aware of it. So it's really like shifting my focus point, literally. And so for men and for women, because we do carry both masculine and feminine energy, and we move along the spectrum as I've described it, we tend to be resonant in one spot, but we can move back and forth depending on what we need. So what she's doing is moving along the spectrum to be more masculine to get her job done. But it's not her natural state. She can move back into a feminine, which I'm sure she is with him, more easily, because she doesn't need to focus that way all the time.
And I want women to appreciate the effort that men make when you make an effort to look at more than one thing at once, when you really make an effort to switch between two things quickly, because it's an effort, it's a choice. It's because it's so effortless for us, we don't appreciate that it's really a conscious decision that you make for us, that it really is a lovely gift that you give to us, and we should always say thank you.
It'll be nice.
It really would be nice if we'd be more appreciative, but we just take it for granted because we do it so effortlessly.
Yeah.
And I don't know that this is a communication thing, but my mind keeps saying to say it. How many times women complain that the man doesn't see the ketchup in the door in their refrigerator, but you're single focused, isn't scanning like we do. You don't scan in the same way that we do. You were talking about scanning for danger. You certainly do scan for danger, but you don't scan for the ketchup. So just give him the ketchup. It's a really sweet way to go, hun, it's in the door kind of by your elbow. Every time he can't find the ketchup, please just have a kind way of communicating. That's one of the communicating things. You could just be nice to him and say, for the 27th time, nicely say, hun, it's by your elbow in the door. Stop being a bitch about it. I could say that.
And so on that note, I have definitely discovered, because I have things that I have bought grocery-wise that are going to last for a long time, so they'd notice me in the fridge. But I've gone to different places because they're running out of room in certain places. So I've definitely noticed that I forgot I had something, because I put it away 2 weeks ago in one of the cupboards. I don't look in there. So it's out of sight, out of mind type thing. And so again, because we are more single focus, like the ketchup in the fridge door, unless we constantly are looking for it, we'll be oblivious to it in our maleness, which is one of the gifts and curses we have.
Because we're constantly looking as women for things that are out of place. Always. We're always looking for the thing that's out of place, that might be dangerous, that we might need to do something about, that might need attention, because the crooked pillows can scream at us. The dirty laundry screams at us. It's often, frequently, what happens to women, which is why we don't go to bed when we're tired and wait for hours to pee. And you men don't understand why we do that, because if you have to pee, you go pee. So that's one of the ways, if we had better communication skills, we could say, oh, this is what I do and why I do it. And you could say the same thing. This is what I do and why I do it. So we're going to take a short break, and we're going to come back about how to communicate, have better communication skills between men and women, because that's really where the upshot is. We tend to do each better with the same sex. So if any of this is resonating with you, if you've had a challenge with the opposite sex going, oh my gosh, I just don't know how to communicate well with them, or they don't know how to communicate with me. I've heard that too. That's kind of what the picture looks like that Cece put up.
Yeah.
I'd love to talk to you. Go to my website, which is www.theperfectcatch.com. Scroll to the middle of the screen, click on What's Holding You Back from Love questionnaire. Answer 10 brief questions about where you are and what you'd like to be different, and it'll give you access to my online calendar, and you can make a complimentary appointment to talk to me about that. You could also send me an email at Christine@theperfectcatch.com. And how would people reach you, Barry?
Well, similar to Christine, I have a website you can go to, which is my name, barryselby.com. And at the top of that page, there is a button you can click on, which is similar to the one that Christine has, but on mine it says Let's Chat. It takes you to my calendar, and also to an application form you fill out. I might put you in the process of revamping that, but still it's there, and it will be slightly different when I do update it. But anyway, you still go there, get on my calendar, and we'll have a Zoom chat for 20 minutes where basically I'll get to navigate what you are, what you're looking for, and use what you've answered in the questions to really help me help you. So I definitely recommend for that. And if you want to send me an email, send me one at barry@selby.com. I'll give you all the information about the rest of the stuff you can find me on at the end of the show, but I'll give you something to think about over the break.
Yes. So we're going to take a short break to talk about our wonderful, the newsstreamingnetwork.com that produces and sends out our wonderful podcast. We'll be right back.
See you in a moment.
Hello and welcome back to Let's Talk Dating with Christine and Barry. And today we're talking about how to improve your communication skills. And generally it's between men and women because we just miscommunicate, misunderstand each other all the time.
It's a gift and a curse.
It really is. It really is. So we started out the show talking about that I was a professional interrupter, that when men would be talking to me, I would be lots of enthusiasm and they would be startled and oftentimes stop talking. And Barry talked about what a challenge it can be when we ask you a question and we think you take way too long to answer.
Yes.
So I suggest to women, count to 30 in your head. Make out a shopping list, review a conversation. We're really good at that. Review a conversation that you had with somebody while you're waiting. Because generally, men will answer within 18 to 20. That doesn't usually take all the way to the 30. And what I've found is they'll give you an answer. They'll answer your question if you've really asked it. And sometimes they'll say, I need a little bit more information. So answer that, but then shut your mouth again. Don't say any more words until they answer again. And what I learned with my late husband, because I did ask a lot of questions while we were dating, he would say, I need to think about that one a little more and I'll get back to you. And I'll tell you, the next time I saw him, he'd say, remember that question you asked? Here's the answer. I never had to ask again. And the other thing I've learned is when they finished answering that question, don't say anything still. Because what I also learned, you guys have taught me, is that you probably have more to say, but you're used to us jumping in about, now we're going to talk about what it means to us and what we think about what you said. And we might even argue with you what you said. And if we're quiet, there's more that you have to say about that. And I have learned a lot more than I ever would have thought to ask by just being quiet, because you're going to pause and think more about it and talk, and then pause and think more about it and be relieved I'm not talking and talk some more. Because one of the other really refreshing things I learned that we women don't do hardly ever, but you do almost 100%, is you'll say, I'm done. I'm done talking about that. What do you think? I'm like, wow, you really do say when you're done. When you've gone to the bottom of the well, you've talked about all the part of it. I mean, there's some blowhard people, both men and women, that never stop talking. I'm not talking about them. I'm talking about somebody who really cares about what you said and what you've asked them, and they really want to give you a deep answer. And the women who complain that men don't give them deep answers, I'm telling you, try this, because I've gotten some very deep waiting over and over between those pauses. Because when I used to interrupt, the men would get frustrated because I would change the words because I knew he didn't understand and he needed different words, and we'd both get mad. But when I waited, he really gave me really long, sincere answers that was very relevant to what I asked.
And here's another piece of that, simply to follow up what you said about, we don't understand. If we don't understand what you ask us, we will let you know and say, can you change it, say it a different way. So don't assume we didn't hear you, and don't assume we didn't understand you, because we have a voice. We can speak up for ourselves. And speaking back to the blowhard piece for a second, for many of my clients I've talked to over the years, they've often signed, most of them clients being women, said when they went out with men, the men would spend the whole time just bragging about themselves, talking about themselves. Here's a hint, men. Don't do that. The thing is, yes, women want to get to know who you are as a man, but they actually want to know that you listen to them, that you feel them and you respond to them. One of the gifts we bring a woman is our presence, and that means we don't talk. Key word, though, after we ask them a question. Because like you said, women know so much about everything and talk about everything they know. It doesn't hurt us to simply say, tell me about your day or what's been going on, what inspires you, what's your passion, what about, those sort of things that can really open up the door for communication. Now, if you're with a woman who you want to be with, likely she will pause at some point and go, I've got so much more, but I can put that on hold. I want to find out more about him. It becomes this dance you can have. And really, it is almost like you want to both be listening more than you speak. Of course, that doesn't work in a conversation. Otherwise, it's just silence. But the idea being that's the intention. So you spend more time focusing on the other person, less on yourself. But it's also important that you do reveal more of yourself because that's what they want to know as well. So in terms of communication skills being improved, a lot of it is the dance you create with somebody else to communicate and learn about each other, especially with somebody you're interested in, because you want to get to know more about if the person is compatible and really works for you. So that dance is key for the communication to improve.
So many good points. So I know that often both people are kind of nervous, and I certainly can talk more when I'm nervous. So a man wants to impress a woman and tell her all the good things about him, and that's certainly understandable. So come up with a couple of really important things you want to tell her about, and then ask her some things about her. Now, I have heard the men have been nervous about asking women almost anything because there can be a woman out there that's going to be overly sensitive about something. We're sensitive about all sorts of stuff, and you just don't know what to ask. So we women are very good about asking a bunch of questions and interviewing you. So if we start asking you questions and answer it, and if we have a follow-up question, answer it, and then turn around and ask the very same question back, because I'm telling you, that's a safe question to ask. If we asked you that question, you have carte blanche to ask us that question. We're ready. We're going to think we're important. We're going to think you paid attention. We're ready with the answer. It's so 99.9% safe to ask us the question that we asked.
And it also can be really fun.
Go ahead.
After you.
I was going to say, if you've found something on their profile, be sure to ask them the stuff that you found on their profile.
Yeah. And the thing about it also, it can be such a fun game because oftentimes what women ask about is something they want to know about them. They want you to know about them as well. So it's a very easy one, like you said. So having that ease to be able to do that. Because the other thing is also for us men, sometimes thinking up good questions can be challenging. So if you ask us a good question, well, it's like the key thing is don't put it aside saying you can answer it back. No, definitely ask it back because it creates this circle of communication. So it's a gift you get.
Yes. The other thing is, one of the challenging things to ask a woman is, how are you? Because we're like mentally, emotionally, physically, spiritually, etherically, with my family, with my pet. I mean, really, you're laughing because we're going to check in with our MRI machine. So it would be better because it seems like, because you would, and you really are hoping we're going to say fine, because that might be a good time to have fine, because usually the fine word isn't so good hearing from a woman. But to be a little more, what was great in your day, or what's some great thing you're working on, or what was something that was challenging that you've overcome, or, what's something you're really passionate about, or something that narrows it down, because we're going to feel obligated to really give you this answer that could go on for a really long time that might be interested or might not, but we're going to try really hard to fill you in, and that's really not what you were asking. So I'm telling you to be more specific when to get the specific answer that you're looking for.
It is the challenge because we are focused on single things. So again, one of the natural gifts of we ask questions, we almost want to go, I want the 3-word answer to this question I'm asking you versus tell me the whole of the world, because it's like we as men tend not to want to go through an encyclopedia all the way through it. We want to go find the question, get the answer, and get out. It's just the way we're wired because, again, we like to be at peace and centeredness at rest. So it is challenging for women oftentimes to keep their answers succinct because women have the piece of information they have decorated with so many other pieces of the world around them that fit into that same piece. So the story you're telling is not just the one thing, it's the 1,700 other things that go with it, which is challenging. It's totally normal for you, especially with other women. You go to all details and explanations. For us men, though, like, I just wanted that one thing, not everything else with it, because we don't have the same contextual reference that you do. And it's challenging, you know.
And then we want you to remember all those details, which
Or
is
do
so
you ever?
unfair. It's so unfair. It's really unfair. Yeah. So we've talked a lot about what it's like to be, in a first date situation or just getting to know each other. But, really for the last few minutes, it's really important to talk about if you really are in a relationship and it's having some ups and downs, that you certainly use the listening to learn part that we talked about with the men, being quiet while they're talking. And the other thing is to be quiet while women are talking. So one of the ways to do that is to picture that when she's really upset and you really want to jump in and fix it,
Yeah.
as if you're holding a great big trash can and she's just dumping all the words about her mother and her friend and the traffic and the world and the burned food and the whatever. She's just dumping it on this. And your job is to hold this trash can. It's a really great trash can. It's going to get really heavy and only your big old muscular arms can hold it and be there for her. And she's just going to keep dumping it. And don't say any words except tell me more or, oh, poor baby. Just hold it. And then when she's done, and she really will be done if you don't interrupt her, your job is to take the trash out. And you
Yeah.
just dump the trash out and she will feel better. It's really lovely because saying, consider the source, or it's not that big of a deal, or here's the solution in the middle of all that, she's still got all that trash stuffed inside of her and she doesn't feel any better. So both sides learning to be quiet while the other person is talking, different scenarios and different reasons, good results on both sides, is really helpful for all relationships forever and ever.
Because one of the skills that we have as men is we're good at solutions. We're good at fixing problems. We're troubleshooters. We like to do, like, we're sort of at the fire brigade. We're coming to fix things and solve things around, which is very attractive to women. But at the same time, it costs us because when we don't realize when to use it at the right time, we can be really untouchable. Like you're saying, when women are venting and releasing everything up, if we interrupt, it stops the flow, which is not what they want. They want to be able to release and get it out. For women, when they're expressing that stuff, it really is about being known when they're done because they're finally free of all that crap they've been carrying around inside. And when we tend to jump in and go, I can fix that, I can solve that, we're being the hero, we're not being the hero. We are being absolutely the antagonist for her upset and her fears. She's not able to free it up. And Alison Armstrong has a great story about this, and we've talked about it before on the show. But the realization is very clearly is that our role as men, because we have the capacity as well as being the strength, is something to hold for her, let her vent out. Because the other part of this good news about this for us men, to be blunt, is we don't need to remember it. All the stuff she's venting out, all we need to do, know and think about is it's getting out of her. We don't want to memorize any of it. We don't need to remember any of it. We don't need to think about it. Even if some of the stuff she's venting is about us, we don't need to think about it because it's her releasing the energy about it. If she needs to talk to us about stuff after that's all complete, then we can talk about it if she wants to. But it's not our job to figure it out, answer it, or solve it. And yes, we don't need to show that we got the right tools and the skills to fix everything all the time, even though we think we should, to prove ourselves. In that moment, our job is not. Our job is to hold. And that trash can holding is our master skill in that place. Absolutely.
And generally, as the man will say, it's fascinating to watch, I'm done. You'll see she'll relax, her face relaxes, her body relaxes. She might actually smile at you and be relieved, because the pressure that builds up in our body when we have that much tension about all this stuff that's bothering us, whether it seems logical or not, because lots of it isn't very logical, we're still very upset, and talking it out, getting it out of us, makes us feel better. Like you going for a run or fixing a car, we feel better. And you were the source of us feeling better. You were the big, strong guy that took that horrible, awful trash away. So we're going to be happier that we feel better. We're going to be happier that you're the person. And if you're having a physical relationship, often we will feel physically closer to you. So
Mhm.
it's a carrot that I dangle for guys to do this thing that seems so counterintuitive and feels weird to do. But if you care about the woman that you're with, do this for her, and you might get some really lovely benefits after.
Yeah, absolutely wise advice. It's such a simple thing, but it's such a thing we forget because, again, we're not wired that way. So,
Mhm.
one of the ways to improving your communication skills is to learn the other ways of communicating and listening and responding. And in this episode, we talked a lot about different ways of doing things that maybe you're used to because innately we know how to do things the way we've done them. But if it hasn't created the results we've wanted, it might be time to think about doing things differently than we've done in the past. And so improving communication skills isn't necessarily about being the most articulate or the most perfect listener. It's about just incrementally learning how to be better in communication with somebody else. And in primary relationship, it is something that you definitely can evolve and grow over time. And if you make a mistake, own up to it and apologize. Because some of the times our communication is so messed up because we're so in our stuff and we forget to be this smart, wise partner that we throw things at our partner and she's like, whoa, or he's going, what's going on? When we say, well, hang on, so sorry, that was my mistake. I shouldn't have thrown that at you. Let me clear it up and we'll start afresh or do it clean. The apology is such a gift we can give each other because the other part also is we sometimes get stuck in our rightness and being so righteous about something and so attached to the result that our partner becomes the opposite of that because there's only one place for rightness on one side or the other. And when we simply own up to our assumption or confusion and we apologize, it clears the air. So one of the ways you improve your communication skills is get off your high horse. Simply put, be more willing to own your mistakes or your own errors and clean things up, because that's another way of improving communication, is not to pretend that everything's fine, because 9 times out of 10 it's not.
And it's a learned skill. So we've talked about a few of the ways that you can do this. And if it's not your normal natural way, Barry and I would be happy to teach you. We do role playing. We can practice with you over time so you can practice with us and you can get better at it and practice. But the part about when you oops is to say, oh my gosh, I oopsed, is a
Yeah.
big, big plus to learn how to do that too.
Yeah.
So learning how to communicate well in your life in general, and certainly with your significant other, it is worth its weight in gold. And it's how Barry and I spend all day talking with our clients to help them through this labyrinth of how to communicate well with yourself, first being honest with yourself, and then with your client, with your significant other people in your life, your loved ones, is essential. So if you would like to communicate with me, here's how to do it. Go to my website, thank you, www.theperfectcatch.com. If you'd like to chat with me over the phone, I'd love to, or Zoom. Go to the middle of my website and click on what's holding you back from love. You can fill out a brief questionnaire. It'll take you to my online calendar, and you can schedule a complimentary conversation with me. And we'll go through the challenges that you've been having in your past or current relationship. Because if you're already in a relationship, I'm happy to talk to you as well. You can also go to the top of my webpage and download my ebook. It's free, got lots of wonderful dating tips and techniques. I would be happy to send it to you. And I'd love to hear your feedback about it. I'm working on a 2.0 version and including wonderful suggestions that people have given me after they've read my first book. I'd love for you to join my mailing list. Every week you'll get in your email box this podcast that we do live every week, and also some upcoming fun things I'm going to be doing in the second quarter. You can also go down to all of my social media icons of Facebook and LinkedIn and Twitter and Instagram and Pinterest and YouTube. And if you click on YouTube, you'll see the whole library of all the podcasts that Barry and I've done together, and some I did with another host and some I did on my own before this. And if you'd like to also send me an email, it's Christine@theperfectcatch.com. And please tell people how they could reach you directly, Barry.
Certainly. So as I said at the break in the middle, you can go to my site, which is my name, barryselby.com. And top of the screen, you can click on that to get on my calendar. As I mentioned, we have a Zoom chat or a phone call if needed, but we definitely talk about where you are and what you're looking to get. I give to you for 20 minutes. At the bottom of the screen, you can jump into my email list on the homepage. And that basically will give you a chance to be subscribed to my audience. So when I send out emails about the replays of the show every week, Plus things are working on the same thing. You'll get more information about what I'm working on, what new things I'm developing. In the middle of the screen is the first of my 2 assessment quizzes I created. One of which is, the first one is a relationship readiness assessment. That's where you click on the button in the middle of the screen, or you can go to barryselby.com/quiz. And that's a preparedness quiz to see how ready you are for a relationship. And it will give you some good questions to consider for yourself. But at the end, you'll get an email from me, which is basically gives you a reference of where you are on the scale, so to speak, from really in trouble to be really good. But basically, some tips and also be an invitation to reach out to me for conversation as well. I have another assessment, which is not actually a button on my site, which I still need to fix that. I haven't done it yet. But basically, go to barryselby.com/self-quiz. This is a slightly different quiz. This is a self-assessment, meaning that how's your relationship with yourself? Looking in the mirror, seeing the different areas of your life. There's 7 areas I look at, or I should say I recommend you look at, that really focus on the different things you can focus on to be in better partnership with yourself. That quiz gives you a PDF. It's a much deeper assessment than the relationship readiness assessment. So it gives you lots of things to consider for your own betterment, whether you're in a relationship or not. I recommend that one as well. So definitely do the self quiz. And again, barryselby.com/self quiz. The other part also is, the other thing on my website I'd recommend is my book, which has been on my page for a long time. That's book out for a long time. You go to barryselby.com/book, or you can click on the button at the front of the navigation, and basically you can look at my book. If you want to buy it, great. If you want to find out more about my book, there's an audio track at the top of the page that's about 12-13 minutes of 2 very smart book critics discussing my book. They're actually AI generated, but they sound like NPR voices. They're really good. And you get a preview of my book that way. And then you can order it from there or from Amazon and get it from me as well. And I mentioned that I'm on social media platforms. That's what I remember, is that you find me on all the major platforms. So under my name, Barry Selby, as well as my site, it's also where you find me on YouTube, where all the replays of this show are, plus 1,000 other videos I've done over the years. So lots of content for you there. So youtube.com/Barry Selby, but also under Barry Selby on Facebook, on LinkedIn, on Pinterest, on Blue Sky, and then it's changed on Instagram and Threads. It's the real Barry Selby, because my account got hacked a while ago. So I couldn't have Barry Selby on everything, much as I wanted to have my own name with everything. So say lovely.
And your email.
Oh, yes, you can thank you. You can drop me an email at barry@barryselby.com.
Another place you have Barry Selby.
Indeed. I'm everywhere.
Everywhere, all the time. And we're here live on Thursdays at 1:00 Pacific and 4:00 Eastern, and all the times in between. And then if you'd like to watch us on replay, you can watch us on YouTube or Roku. But you could take us with you, right, Barry?
Yes, indeed. These videos are actually put up as a podcast, which I know you said that term podcast a few times. So it's easy to remember that, because we do a podcast from this as well. So wherever you listen to your podcast, on Apple, Spotify, Amazon, wherever you listen, you can look for Let's Talk Dating show with Christine and Barry. You'll find our show, and there's 250 plus shows up there. Each one of those you can listen to anywhere you are in the world, wherever you're driving, walking, shopping, whatever you're doing. You listen to them in your ear and have inspiration and guidance for your love life and romance and dating. Probably the best thing you get for free.
Yes, it is. And we look forward to having you here with us. We want you to like and share and review all everywhere you listen or watch us, and share us with your friends that are having dating and relationship questions, and come back every week, because we're always here and would be happy to have you watch us and listen to our wonderful, interesting conversations that we have. We'll see you next Thursday.
See you next week. Take care of yourselves.
Bye.
Bye for now.